Ghazni is about 150 kilometers southwest of Kabul, and it's right on the main road. There's the Kabul-Kandahar highway, which is the main road in the country. So you would have thought that we could have simply driven from Kabul to Ghazni, but it's too dangerous. They made it clear that probably we would be killed if we tried to drive. So we had to go by U.S. Embassy helicopter from Kabul to Ghazni. It's a very monochromatic area. There are not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of vegetation. It's very brown. There are hills. You're still in the foothills of the Hindu Kush Mountains. So it's not as if it's completely flat. There's some variety to the landscape. But as I say, it's a very brown area. There's a river that runs through town, not a major one. No other lakes in the area. But a lot of archaeological sites, in part because this area was the center of an empire between the 10th and the 12th centuries AD. The life of a family in Ghazni. The children now would go to school. The boys and the girls, which is new. In Ghazni, they would go to school in a building. That's not true for the majority of Afghanistan. 50% of the schools in Afghanistan don't have buildings. So the schools take place in tents, or if there are no tents, they take place on the grass. So here, if it rains, if it snows, no school, because you're having school in the outdoors. There aren't books. The teachers themselves, in many cases, don't have much education because of the history of the country. Ghazni is better. So if you were a family in Ghazni, your sons would go to school, your daughters would go to school. What would you do? You might run have a small shop. They're not earning much money, these shopkeepers. I can't believe that they wouldn't earn enough to feed the family. I didn't see the level of destitution reach that level, at least in the areas where we were visiting. You would live a life that was very poor. You would live in a mud brick house. You probably wouldn't have water. You wouldn't have plumbing. You would have to go somewhere to collect the water. But your children probably would be getting an education, probably. It's certainly better than it would have been under the Taliban, where, again, education for girls had to occur in secret. And the level of education was pretty limited. I mean, one of the reasons there's such illiteracy in Afghanistan is because the Taliban really didn't put a high price on education, which is surprising because you would have thought they would have wanted people to have been able to read the Quran. And of course, you can't read the Quran if you're illiterate. You can memorize it, you can hear what someone says, and you can recite it back, but you can't actually read it for yourself. This I don't understand, but I was told while I was in Afghanistan that even Mullah Omar has now admitted publicly that education is important. I mean, it only took him, 40 years of his life to make this realization. People were treating this with trumpets, that the Taliban had announced that education was important. That's education for men. That is not education for girls. So if the Taliban comes back, and there's a strong chance that they will, everything will slip back to where it once was, including no schools for girls and a rise in the illiteracy rate, I assume.